Good afternoon and welcome. You're watching Lunchtime News on TV1, bringing you the news. I'm Tharusha Kumar Singha. Well, the 500,000 vials of the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine, a donation from the Chinese government, were distributed among the public today. And what is the latest situation with the still burning MV Express ship? We have all that and more coming up, but let's take a look at your top stories this afternoon.
Express Pearl was denied entry to India and Qatar before catching fire off Colombo, a revelation by the owner of the Express Pearl ship. China's Sinopharm vaccine to be administered in Galle, Mathura and Kurunegala districts. Use the money spent on chemical fertilizer to produce organic fertilizer, says the president. Opposition alleges that the government endangered the lives of MPs and parliament staff by rushing to pass the Port City bill.
Taking a look at one of your developing stories, the chairperson of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, Darshani Lahandepura, pointed out a possibility of an upcoming acid rain owing to the smoke emitted from the burning MV Express Pearl. Meanwhile, debris from the burning container ship washed ashore at the Bambalapitia beach earlier this morning.
The MV Express Pearl that departed the port of Hazira in India on the 15th of May 2021 caught fire last Thursday. The fire that broke out in the forecastle area of the MV Express Pearl anchored 9.5 nautical miles northwest of the Colombo port. The vessel, registered under the flag of Singapore, had carried 1,486 containers with 25 tons of nitric acid, several other chemicals and cosmetics. Despite efforts taken by Sri Lanka Navy, Sri Lanka Air Force and the Ports Authority to control the fire, due to the inclement weather situation and the chemical substance aboard, the situation ended with the ship completely destroyed. Speaking with Splash, a marine website from Singapore, Tim Hartnell, the executive chairman of Express Feeders, said that poor packaging was responsible for the acid leak, which the crew had detected while in the Arabian Sea, thousands of kilometers away from Sri Lanka. On detecting the leak, the ship's captain then contacted two ports, Hazira on the west coast of India and Hamad in Qatar, requesting to offload the containers in question. The requests were denied and the ship, which was delivered from a yard in China this February, made its way to Sri Lanka. The executive chairman of the company that owns the ship told Splash that the cause of the acid leak was that the packing of the containers had not been done in a proper manner. As of now, the ship is considered to be a total constructive loss. A separate source at the company commented, quote, "This disaster could have been prevented had those ports done their duty and taken in the cargo rather than endangering the crew and the ship," end quote. The Marine Environment Protection Authority said the distressed MV Express Pearl is likely to sink in the coming few hours. Dr. Tani Pradeep Kumara, the General Manager of Marine Environment Protection Authority, told Newsfirst, quote, "There is a possibility of an explosion recurring on the ship as the fire continues to spread. The necessary arrangements have been made to face any such situation with the required manpower and equipment on standby," end quote. A special security zone has been established covering the beach from Dikkovita to Chilaw and from Velavata to Paladura by the Sri Lanka Navy and the Coast Guard Department. The Sri Lanka Navy took measures to remove the debris washed ashore today. Meanwhile, 8 people have been arrested by Sri Lanka police today for collecting debris from the burning MV Express Pearl that had washed ashore in violation of quarantine laws.
News First have been constantly reporting on the devastating incident regard to the MV Express Pearl, which is still burning in the Sri Lankan sea region, endangering marine life in the Sri Lankan Ocean as well. We saw people carelessly collecting debris yesterday as well. Now, our reporters have been constantly bringing you reports with regards to this devastating incident. Today, we are joined by Ravindu Jayagoda, who's in the western coast of Sri Lanka from the Sarakkua beach. Ravindu, what is the latest situation? What is happening today?
We are at the Pamunugama beach in the Sarakku area where the debris from the MV Expert ship have washed ashore. As you all can see, efforts are underway to clean these debris away and especially to clear these shores. And a short while ago we saw State Minister Nalaka Godaheva and the Environment Minister Mahinda Amarveera visited this place to witness the cleaning process. And as you can see, the Navy, especially the Navy and the Coastal Conservations are have taken action to clean these debris away from these shores. And however, the authorities have said the public to avoid coming to these beaches because these debris may contain hazardous chemicals which are not good for the humans. So this is the update we have in the beach, in the Pamunukama beach right now. I'm Ravindra Jayakoti reporting for Newsfirst.
Thank you, Ravindu, for that report. We will continue to report on this matter and what will be the consequences of this tragic incident as well in the future. Moving on to more local news. The Met Department forecasts heavy rainfall of about 75 millimeters can be expected in Western and Sabaragamuwa provinces and in the Matara, Kandy and Nuwara districts. It further adds that rainfall can be expected in central and northwestern provinces as well. Wind speeds can be increased up to 30 to 40 kilometers per hour across the island. Met Department stated that wind speeds can increase up to 50 kilometers per hour at times in the western slopes of the Central Highlands, North, North Central and Northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts.
Damages were reported after trees had fallen in many places across the island due to strong winds accompanied by heavy rains.
උණුකට මගේ ඔළුවට වැටිලා ඔළුවත් තාම ගිමිලා අතත් පොඩ්ඩක් හීරිලා බහල් සම්පූර්ණ විනාශ වෙන පොඩි අය විලාවට අඬ ගැහුණු නිසා ඉස්සරහට අරගෙන පොඩි අය බේරගත්තා. පොඩි අයගේ පොත්වල ඉඳලා ඔක්කොම තෙමිලා.
Meanwhile, a tree had fallen onto the road from Akudas to Kananke. Due to strong winds, a coconut tree had fallen onto a house in the Balagola area in Kandy. The fallen tree had caused damages to a house, a three-wheeler, and also caused damage to several electricity poles in the area. It was reported that a tree had also fallen in several other areas including Angunugola Palasa, Tangol and Veerakatiya. Electricity was also disrupted to several areas for around 6 hours due to a tree falling onto a high-voltage electricity transmission cable in Marakullia of Tangol. Vehicular movement along the Balangoda-Vevalwata main road was disrupted due to the falling of large trees onto the road in several areas in Uvela area. The trees had fallen onto high-voltage electricity transmission cables, disrupting the power supply. Our correspondent said officers of the electricity board in Balangoda took steps to remove the trees yesterday.
In more local news now, the Army Commander General Shavendra Silva said 125,000 doses of the Chinese Sinopharm vaccines received as a gift from the Chinese government will be used to vaccinate people across 3 districts in the country. Accordingly, he said arrangements have been made to conduct COVID-19 vaccination drive in selected areas of the Kurunegala, Galle and Mathura districts. The Army Commander said the other 375,000 doses of the vaccine will be used to administer those who have received the first dose of the vaccine.
The Chinese Sinopharm vaccine was administered to residents of several areas in the Kurunegala district. A large group of people gathered at the Sir John Kotalawala College to receive the jab. Special security forces were also deployed in the area. Meanwhile, a vaccination drive was carried out at the Dambul Economic Centre today. Around 1,600 entrepreneurs and labourers received the jab. A large crowd had gathered at the location to receive the jab administered by the Sri Lanka Army. A vaccination drive was also carried out by the Sri Lanka Army and health authorities at the Sri Paramanandaraj Maviharaya in Kadavatsatara, Galle.
Meanwhile, Minister Namal Rajapaksa and Johnston Fernando supervised the vaccination drive currently underway in the Kurunegala district.
As per the instructions of the President and the committee appointed for COVID-19, strict decisions have been taken in order to control the spread of COVID-19. Accordingly, we believe that the third wave of the virus can be controlled according to the recommendations issued. Additionally, vaccination of the other citizens will also commence as soon as possible.
මේ රටේ එන්නත් ලබා දිය යුතු සියලු දෙනාටම එන්නත් ලබා දෙන්න අපි කටයුතු කරනවා. සංචලන සීමාව කඩන්න කියන්නේ.
It is the opposition that is demanding to lift travel restrictions and are making fun of the travel restrictions using barrels and other silly stunts. We condemn this behavior. We ask the people not to use vehicles because people would then travel great distances. Then they would start transporting family members. That is why we instructed to only go to the nearest shop. We requested them not to bring in politics to the management of the pandemic. We have not brought in politics into the vaccination drive in any way.
මේකත් එක්ක දේශපාලනේ ගාව ගන්න එපා කියන එකයි අපි ඉල්ලන්නේ. මේ ඉන්නත් කරන්නේ මේ දේශපාලනේ ගාව ගන්න නෑනේ.
An island-wide operation was conducted by the police in search of those who violate travel restrictions. Vehicles that were coming in and out of Colombo were inspected by the police. This is the manner in which vehicles were checked in Battaramulla and surrounding areas. Meanwhile, with the intervention of the Borella police, a drone operation was carried out in the Sahaspura area in Borella in search of those who violate travel restrictions. 5 people were arrested in Sahaspura, Borella for failing to wear face masks and were later released after being warned.
Meanwhile, the members of the Government Radiological Technologists Association raised several concerns with regard to trade union actions during a media briefing held yesterday.
We have currently engaged in trade union actions for over 6 days. This attempt is to enslave us by handing over the radiation protection service, which falls under our purview, to another service. A transfer of something like that in the duty list is not acceptable. The reason behind this is the dictatorial behavior of the Health Secretary. We were not on the Technical Evaluation Committee when the machines were purchased. A radiation machine was purchased for the Polonnaruwa Hospital. They had spent about 10 million when the price was 3 million. They said 10 machines like that will be purchased. They are not on good terms with us because of this. We were forced to shut our mouths under the clutches of the health authority.
Once again, we are crossing over to live footage from the place where the MV Express Pearl is burning. At the moment, the footage that we are bringing to you is from the Sarakkua beach from the west coast. News First will keep you updated as to what is happening with this tragic incident. The ship caught fire last Thursday. It was anchored 9.5 nautical kilometers away from Sri Lanka. However, debris kept on coming ashore, and we saw the manner in which people went and carelessly collected the debris, and the consequences of it we will get to know in the future. Up next is in your international update. Focusing your attention back to the COVID-19 situation here in Sri Lanka. Well, Dr. Hemantha Herath had this to say with regards to the prevailing COVID-19 situation here in the country.
When will residents of other areas receive the COVID-19 vaccine?
Since the number of vaccines received is limited, the vaccination drives are being carried out in selected high-risk areas. Once more vaccines are received, we will spread the vaccination drives to other areas. We request that the general public not create unnecessary congestion when receiving the vaccine, since that will create an unnecessary risk. More batches of vaccines will arrive in the coming days. That vaccine will be administered in those respected areas.
Will an issue owing to the delay in the arrival of the AstraZeneca vaccine arise?
We strongly believe that the vaccine batches required for the second dose will be received in the future. However, the delay in administering the second dose is not a problem. The government will get this as soon as possible. Once it arrives, we will administer it quickly as possible.
Have you reached a decision to mix and match the COVID-19 vaccines?
මිශ්‍ර එන්නත ලබා ගැනීම.
Various researchers have been carried out worldwide in administering the mix and match vaccines. We cannot say that information is completely unfavorable. Sri Lanka has an advisory committee on non-communicable diseases. That committee will take the necessary decisions with regards to any change as such. However, such a decision has not yet been made.
ඒ කමිටුව මගින් මේ දක්වා එවැනි තීරණයක් අරගෙන නැහැ.
As the entire nation is battered by the COVID-19 pandemic, farmers in many areas of the country has been battered by the fertilizer issue. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed officials to prepare a systematic process to provide organic fertilizer for farmers without any shortages to continue cultivation during the Maha season.
According to the President's Media Division, the head of state had emphasized on the importance of implementing a comprehensive mechanism involving all sectors in this regard. The instructions were issued during a discussion held with the subject ministers and manufacturers of organic fertilizer.
In this situation, we have to make sure that the farmers are not obstructed and allowed to continue their work. I believe this system previously failed because the farmers weren't provided the necessary fertilizer during the right time of the season, and they were not educated regarding how to use the fertilizer. They need the right information on how to use the fertilizer. If we decided on what fertilizer to use, we have to try and produce these fertilizer in the country. If we are unable to meet the requirement by the season, we can immediately import the needful beforehand. We imported chemical fertilizer previously in large quantities. Instead, we need to bring down the necessary carbonic fertilizer. There are many countries that produce carbonic fertilizer. We have to look into that and import them beforehand.
With the COVID-19 situation in the country, the political landscape of the country is in turmoil as well. The chief opposition whip Lakshman Kiriella accused the government of putting the lives of MPs and parliamentary staff at risk with their hastiness of passing the Colombo Port City Economic Commission bill. We will have this story later on in the bulletin in more local news from here at home. Although the prevailing pandemic in the country denied the public from celebrating Vesak as usual, people across the island celebrated Vesak at home. Colourful Vesak decorations were also seen at several public places.
As Sri Lanka observed Vesak at homes this year, Gammatha has made it possible to mark this important day online with the launch of the Gammatha Dhamsavya online Vesak zone. Viewers can visit the website www.gammatha.lk in order to join the Gammatha Dhamsavya online Vesak zone. Many devotees join the Gammatha Dhamsavya online Vesak zone through the website. The pandal depicts the Apannaka Jathakya, a story that highlights many important aspects of good leadership, including a foundation of truth. The zone will include a digital online pandal, for which the artistic impressions were created by veteran artist Hemantha Varkapitiya. Sirius FM, led by Prasad Leonarachi, contributed to the project through voice acting.
And with that, we wrap up this edition of Lunchtime News for today, reminding our viewers once again about the MV Express Pearl, the situation revolving around the MV Express Pearl in the west coast of Sri Lanka. And reminding our viewers once again, if you're watching our bulletin, do not go near the ocean, do not go near the shore and try to collect debris, as it might contain harmful substances. With that, we wrap up this edition of Lunchtime News for today. Have a safe day.